Celeb Savant is a career retrospective type interview focusing on singers, actors, and industry experts. Join Barrett Edelstein now as he dives into the entertainment world.
Emerging in the 2010s, Australian record producer and DJ What So Not has evolved into an in-demand artist across the globe. Renowned for his innovation and signature style that blends bass, trap and melodic hues into a unique and unforgettable package. Releasing his debut album Not All the Beautiful Things in 2018, What So Not resoundingly showcases versatility and revolutionary prowess with tracks like Be Okay Again featuring Daniel Johns and Go featuring Skrillex, building formidable momentum that would ultimately lead to a 2022 sophomore album, Anomaly. A genreless and relentlessly experimental artist, What So Not has spent his career collaborating with the likes of Skrillex, R.L. Grime, Killer Mike, and Toto, with his releases and potent live performance effortlessly translating over to the stage, including at Coachella and Lollapalooza, headline shows in Europe, North America, as well as in Australia. He has cultivated over 1.3 billion streams on DSPs. Up next on Celeb Savant, we've got What So Not.
Where in the world are you and how are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm in Melbourne. I just landed. I was actually a little late to this interview because my flight got in a little late.
Where did you fly in from?
From Sydney.
How did you choose the stage name What So Not?
So What's So Not was a play of the phrase what's hot, what's not. And, just a name came up with it when I was like 19 years old. So it's not anything too extravagant. But the idea was that at the time, a lot of people were just replicating whatever was popular. It was the beginning of the blog era when the sort of overlords of the music industry lost control and everyone was just freeform of ideas that they made in their bedroom and then started touring around the world. So everyone was like really trying to have a very quick go at it and replicate what was popular. But What's So Not was meant to be a play off what's hot, what's not, and try and the next popular thing rather than just emulating what was hot in the moment already.
I love the way you described it, the overlords in the industry.
Yeah.
At what age, whether as a child or teenager, did you think to yourself, okay, I want to be in this creative world? And how did that journey progress?
I never thought this was going to happen. I didn't even try to make it happen. Everyone around me was very, you go to college, you get a job, that's life. That's what you do. Nothing else. Like music's a hobby. It's something you play around with when you're a kid and then you leave it. That's it. But when I turned 18, I started going to nightclubs. When I was 17, actually, I snuck into this big festival in Australia called the Big Day Out. Had about 120,000 people attending it each day. Bands like Metallica, Kanye, all these different people were headlining it. A huge array of punk, rap. And then they actually had a dance music warehouse. And dance music was kind of just this new popular thing in Australia, at least the modern dance music. And I went and saw Justice. And this was before they even put out their first album. They just had a few remixes under their belt. Were kind of a hot new act. Was part of that Ed Banger crowd. And just seeing that, I was a drummer in a rock band, didn't even like dance music. And I saw that and I was like, whoa, I didn't know you could do this. I didn't know you could make these sounds. And I became instantly fascinated. And from there, it just became an obsession, sort of getting into production and DJing. And like I was talking about the blogosphere, blogs and things that just started, there was this aggregator called Hype Machine or hypem.com. And it was like the Billboard charts of illegally uploaded IDs and bootlegs and edits. And the first time I ever tried to make, a little bootleg kind of thing, my friend put it on one of their blogs and it went to number 1 on that chart. And that was really the first time I was like, oh, wow, I have to pursue this. I don't fully understand this yet. I can't do everything from front to back, like building on my own sounds from scratch. I'm still doing a lot of sampling, but I seem to fundamentally understand how this functions and how this works. And it was sort of those two aspects are what made me pursue this career path.
What aspects of doing it from that point on surprised you about doing it? So were there any aspects about now, okay, I'm now creating this world, I'm now a professional, I'm learning all these different crafts, but were there any aspects of the next steps that were like, oh, I didn't realize that this would be part of it?
I would say first thing that comes to mind is, being sort of 17, 18 when I was getting into this, it surprised me how unfair the industry is and how often the lesser skilled person would be put forward for a job for whatever reason, how the people making the most exciting and innovative stuff were not the ones that were shining. It was a really strange thing to wrap my head around, but I just realized that's life. Life is not a fair place. But I was just very young and not really understanding that. That's probably one of the first things I noticed about the industry is like, wow, these people are doing the best stuff, and not a lot of people seem to care. But sure enough, if they put the right things in place, if they orchestrated the right things around them, that's when it would swell with hype and everyone would have just flocked to it. So yeah, it was a lot of interesting revelations in those early years in that kind of sense.
It's naturally about building the groundwork and just ignoring all the voices and the unfairness and just building the bricks until your house is built, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think you have to learn like so much more than music. I remember I did this talk for Ableton actually like in 2011 or something. And at that point, I remember in that interview, I understood then, I said, music is 20% of the gig. You wouldn't believe how much else goes into it to make any sort of movement happen. And hopefully you're exceptional at your craft and what you're doing, but the 80% of it is what determines if that goes anywhere or not, which is kind of a crazy thought.
How do you create music? How do you create a song?
It's a little bit different every time, but I would say I often tend to hear like a texture or a pad or a drone or some sort of small shape or movement that just seems to evoke an emotion and inspire a movement. I know when it's happening as well. I'll hear something and I'll be like, that inspires me. I hear this melody, I hear this chord progression, I hear these kind of drum rhythms, I hear this tempo, and I'll sort of build all of that out. And then from there, I have an idea of what this song feels like. And once I know what it feels like, I tap into myself and think of a moment that I felt that way. And then I sort of circulate around this moment, this ideology, this experience that I resonate with, and then I flesh that out into sound. So to me, song creation is converting emotion, or particularly an emotion and an experience, into audio.
That leads me to my next question. I'm not sure if you are aware of NLP. So NLP is neuro-linguistic programming. So this is the way people process information. There's a subsection called processing skills. Now, each of us have a dominant one, a tertiary, and a secondary. Dominant means that you'll be in it most of the day, secondary, an hour, tertiary, if at all. Now, something kicks into us at a young age as a child that allows us to get into our dominance and so forth. There are 3 processing skills. There are visual people. Visual people process information through pictures. So as I'm speaking right now, they'll be creating a picture in their mind. Auditory people, it's about the words, understanding the words, understanding the sentence, understanding the paragraph, so the individual audio aspects, and then putting the information together. Kinesthetic people, it's about the feeling, the emotion, the energy, the body language, the tone of voice, those aspects. Now, focusing specifically on music, because it may be different in other aspects of your life. When you are hearing fully completed songs by other artists or of your own, is it about the feeling? Is it about the lyrics? Or is it about the picture?
I think it's about the feeling.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Based on your previous aspect, that's why I just wanted to unpack and understand. But now, when you're listening to songs by other artists, completed songs, are you able to just relax and hear it for what it is? Or is your technical brain unpacking what you are hearing?
It's interesting because I like to listen to certain types of music, and often it's music with the centralized focal point removed. So I call it thinking music.
Mhm.
It's music that is eclectic and peculiar and interesting, but has no foreground dominant element. It has no big voice screaming lyrics saying, listen to me, listen to me. It's almost like textual background exciters that has, a harmonic movement and some melodies and things. But that's the music I like to listen to. Which is quite interesting the way you're describing this. But I do get that issue when I go to shows. All I can do is analyze it. All I can do is review the production, the way the lights are behaving with the audio, how the crowd is perceiving it, how dynamic the show is. That is an instance where I cannot do anything but analyze. But I find I do actually really enjoy listening to music, but certain types of music.
But so when you're at a show and you're analyzing it, does that irritate you, or it's just that your natural thought process?
It also irritates me. It's hard for me to enjoy a show unless it's a really good one or the music is really exceptional. It's really quite challenging for me.
Referencing the performance, what do you enjoy about performing?
I think it's just a beautiful moment to connect with people and artistically expressed everything you've envisioned for what you've built. To certain degrees, you can knock that out the park or not, all depending on all the other aspects, the other 80% of the aspects of like, how hyped is everything right now? How much is your fee and how much can you realistically apportion to production, to ideas, to execution, to stage design, all of these things. So it's all a sort of, an ever teetering system. And I think usually the tours I'm most excited for is some of the recent ones I've done that were audiovisual tours where I'm performing synthesis, drums, vocals live, and then sort of programming everything else. But they're also the most challenging. They're the most daunting. They're the ones where the most things can potentially go wrong. But I think it always sounds excellent, but obviously the artist has like such a higher expectation of it.
And naturally, you bring your same energy and focus. But what's the difference between performing at a festival, your own tour, and sort of at a smaller venue?
I think smaller venues are more intimate, more engaged, and you tend to play a different type of set because of that. I think your headline shows that are your own shows is where you're really leaning into something you've probably worked on for, half a year or so on the production stage design front, bringing production around on a bus and semi-trailers and whatever it may be. And then festivals are more like you are probably playing to more of a mass audience that's partly there for you, but then partly there just for the event. So then you're sort of working out if you can draw people into your weird and strange and exciting world and seeing what sort of records you can get away with when it's more of a generalized public that you're performing to and not just your own core audience.
For your headline tours, there's that 6-month or year preparation. But when you do festival sets and other smaller venue sets, how much do you prepare? Do you have sort of a shell and then it changes based on the energy of the room, or what is your process?
I think festivals have a lot more preparation. The small shows can be so raw and spontaneous and intimate. The festivals often are some sort of reflection of the headline tour you're also doing. So you're working out, sometimes even more challenging because you're on one singular day trying to work out how you can represent your entire show you've built separately on your headline tour onto a stage where there's about 7 other people doing the same thing across the day, is fighting for space, on the back line behind the curtain of who gets to put their stuff where, whether you're allowed to roll out with power, whether you get a sound check, all these kinds of things. So it's a bit mad in that sense. But it's an opportunity, I think, to represent what you've built to so many more people.
I'm that person who's right up in front. I'm dancing, I'm jamming. I'll maybe take my cell phone out for a couple of clips, couple of videos, and I put it away. I notice these days a lot of people are videoing a lot, tweeting or posting or concentrating more on their screen than they are in the actual moment and the experience of what's happening. From the person on the stage, seeing or perceiving that, do you find that frustrating and takes away from the person's experience, or it's just where society is at this stage?
I've never been all that bothered by it. I think I've been really lucky in the scene that I came up in and that the audience I still have, even if they're filming, they're so energetic with it. They're genuinely excited while they're doing it. It's not very much of a poser kind of crowd, and it's not like mass, corporate, commercial kind of projects. So I'm not really bothered. Like, I'm happy for people to enjoy it how they want to enjoy it, and be as energized as they want to be. And obviously it's up to me to try and make sure that's to a high level.
I know it's all very secretive in your guys' world. Tell us about the latest project, the latest collaboration, EP, and if you can tell us what's coming up, let's hear that.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is this EP, The Quiet That Hurts, that we've been working on for about 3 years on and off. Ferry Bunchen became quite a good friend of mine whenever we're in Europe. He lives over there in the Netherlands. So I would actually go and stay at his house, and we would make music on the off days that I wasn't touring. So you can imagine when you go over there, it's quite an expensive trip, and you can't just like fly back to Australia or fly back to America midweek. So I would do my shows on the weekend, 2 or 3 shows, go back to Ferry's house for 3 or 4 days, work on this EP, do that for a few weeks, and then I go back and tour the rest of the world, come back, every 6 months or so. And so we chipped away at this really beautiful body of work for quite a long time, and it's only just come out.
Anything else you can tell us that's happening, or is it all still secretive?
I mean, I'm doing a big US tour, which is very exciting. Yeah, but I think right now we're just very excited about this EP that we spent so long working on, yeah.
Did it take you a while because you were doing it over that period of time every time you were there, and then you just wanted to allow it to breathe and have its space and let it grow from an organic place instead of trying to rush it to get it released? Because I know these days the audience is like, okay, you release a song and then 2 weeks later, where's the next one? Where's the next one? We want the next one, because their attention span is so short. Was it a process of we're just going to let it relax into it and then release it when we're ready?
Yeah, I think, great things literally take time. Sometimes a song comes together really quickly, but then, drum and bass is such a high level of production you need to adhere to in order to compete in that space. And if you want to compete in that space being quite different, which is what I think we did manage to achieve, it's even more so technical and more so you need to sit with the songs and consider them and test them out live. There's songs in here that I have been testing for almost 2 years and seeing how they create a frenzy or an impact on dance floors, or whether they're a bit lackluster at moments and they're needing to reconsider that. And I think the reason it took so long is because we only worked on them together, and we're spending for the most part time in totally different continents. It was quite nice though to have the breathing room, and we've worked on probably, I don't know, maybe like 12 different ideas, and then settled on 5 that we were really going to hone in on and finish for the EP.
You reference that drum and bass has a high level of production compared to other genres potentially. Why is that?
I don't know what got that genre so obsessed with intricate sound design, and I guess the power in the drums and the intricacy of the FM synthesis and the modulation of all the sounds. It's really like no other genre. I don't know that there's any other genre that goes so in depth, so much that like a lot of drum and bass producers who decide to stop making drum and bass and make something else tend to just knock people out the park. They like pick up a genre that's popping up in a different field, and they can just do it better than everyone. It's so high level competitive. But I think there's flaws to that as well. I think because everyone's being so technical, it becomes a bit alienating sometimes. A lot of the big drum and bass guys have made this joke to me that the better you get at making drum and bass, the less fans you have, because it really just isolates you into this field that only very few people can really relate to and understand. And I think that's what we were trying to tackle here, was trying to do all the tricks and all the clever ways you can make drum and bass, but in much more emotive foundation, and trying to add as many different sparkles of genres adjacent to that field that are in a similar tempo. Like we have Tragic, where it's actually like a juke kind of beat that then has a drum and bass kind of switch up. It goes into this ravey moment that are built into a gabba drop. You have Threads that goes up to 566 BPM or something in this giant arpeggiated orchestral build, with Maya doing this insane operatic vocal, and then it flips into this jump up kind of thing, and then ends up in this hard techno thing. So it was quite a challenging and fun exploration around all those fields.
Okay, so I love this game. I know if I had to ask you this question in 2 minutes, 2 years, 20 years, I know your answer will be different every time. There are millions of them. So I'm not saying favorite, I'm saying top of mind. If you had to push play to 5 other artists once we finish this conversation, who would those artists be?
Interesting. You know, it's funny because I don't think about music like that. I sort of have music come across my plate rather than me going I don't hunt for it as much as I used to. I used to hunt a lot, and now I tend to actually like silence. I like to it's funny because it's called the quiet that hurts, but I like to sit in silence and have the ideas come to me. I feel like I've heard so many things over my career that like now I'm like, there's such a plethora of thought in there that I could just sit and imagine and a lot will come to me. Also in that essence, like I don't like to think about artists as though they're big or small or whatever. Like when people ask, oh, who are your dream collaborators? And it's like, I've worked with some artists that have not even released a song yet. And then, you know, the thing we make is one of the best creations I've ever been a collaborator on, you know? So it's quite interesting music in that sense. But I wouldn't say I would go and put on anything in particular. I would probably have some friends recommend some things to me, or I would just sit in silence. And actually my Spotify Wrapped said that I was a 75-year-old listener because most of the music I listen to is from the 60s. It's really about going on little wormholes and finding what is down that path.
So you referenced collaboration. When you collaborate with other artists, obviously the late CPs through friendship and through that relationship. But when you collaborate with others, is it a situation of them reaching out to you, you reaching out to them? How do those collaborations happen?
I think it's both. There's not many collaborators I work with where I don't work with them in the room. There's something really special about getting together, and there must be some sort of physical interaction that happens, you know, with our spheres of whatever is surrounding us that we don't quite understand yet. I think that is my favorite part about it, is like getting in a space with a person, getting to understand each other, interacting, and then trialing different ideas musically, and then really, like I was sort of talking about before, finding some sort of moment and emotion to center around, and then finding a common thread where we've had a separate but comparable experience, and we really channel into that vein. And then I find that helps songs stay so authentic. It's almost like the song wants to be this thing, and all I have to do is not corrupt it with my ego, my insecurity. Oh, the kick needs to be way bigger because otherwise, like, people are going to think this about it. And it's like, no. Let's see what this song wants to be on its own and just be the vessel to deliver it into the world.
The podcast is listened to throughout the world. As a final message to the audience, what would you like to say?
I hope everyone is living their best life. I hope you're making choices that actually make you happy. And I hope you have the capacity for that to be the case. And I hope you're pursuing an art form, because whether it's your career or not, I think creating is what we're put on this earth to do.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Celeb Savant. Please follow Barrett on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook at Celeb Savant. That's CelebSavant.